Peace and love, peace and love. This is Yari, and this video is about the Jupiter retrograde, and this is also about Mercury going back direct. So let's go into the Mercury going back direct first. Now that Mercury is back direct, everybody's clarity and everybody has their mind back, because it seems like everybody's head was just spinning during that retrograde, and it was, all right. And there was a spiritual pause on a lot of things that was taking place that we really needed to observe and we really needed to see. So the universe will pause the movie of your life so that you can see things very clear. Okay, people, places, things, and what they're doing to you, and if they're adding to you, multiplying, if they're dividing you from your purpose, and if there are any subtractions or distractions in your space. That Mercury retrograde was in its home sign of Gemini. Okay, so anytime the Mercury is retrograding in its home sign, Gemini or Virgo, that can be very intense for a sun sign Gemini and for a sun sign Virgo. Also affects your moon or your ascendant. So a lot of people were just all over the place. Okay, and so I call Mercury your pen and your paper. Mercury is what jots everything down. Mercury is what keeps you in line, helps you to communicate clear. Mercury is also like your phone. And so it was like everybody's phone was just off, and everybody's phone was just tripping for that time span of the retrograde. So the unfinished business, which is I always call it, was going back, things we needed to do, people we needed to reconnect with, ideas, projects, all of those things that we probably had, pushed to the side, put in a closet, plans that we had that we didn't plan out properly, or things that we didn't have the proper strategy to. That retrograde was giving us tools, people, and a lot of ammo, towards what we needed to do so we can really just shoot our shot when it came to our goals. With that retrograde as well, exes, all of those things, old friends, people you said you weren't going to talk to anymore, all of those people came back into your space. All those people came back into your space because it's called second chances or forgiveness. The universe wants to know if you're really done, and if you've really done the shadow work, and if you know where you're at with people and what decisions to make. So it doesn't always mean for you to reconnect. It doesn't always mean that you and somebody are supposed to get back together, or you and this person need to be friends. They spin these people back around, or they spin you back around the block, I would say, just to see, like I say, just to test your boundaries, just to test, your intellect, just to test your courage in different areas where you may have been weak before. And so that all goes back to your shadow work. With this Mercury retrograde, the universe was asking, are you prepared? Okay, different areas in your life, are you ready? If a situation and an opportunity came, if your lover came, anything came, are you ready right now, today? Do you have the tools? Is your bag ready? Do you have direction? And so any areas where we procrastinate, any areas where we just wait to the last minute, this had a lot to do with that. So this was telling us how to be on time. This was telling us how to show up. This was showing us how to speak our truth even, okay? Because the retrograde also brought back a lot of lies, a lot of deception, gossip, and areas where people exaggerate and just make things up, where they really haven't completed an area in their life. And so we, make things up, make it a little bit more colorful, make it easier to talk about with people. And so the retrograde was also pulling that out of us, where we lie, where we don't have direction, where we're on the side of the spiritual road in life, just hitchhiking spiritually and don't know where we're headed, and just taking direction from anybody. And a lot of us were doing that. Different gurus, different teachers, all of those things. A lot of us were learning that we're our own teacher. A lot of us were learning that not somebody else always has the answers. And so that's why it was a very beautiful spiritual place to be. This was also talking about compensation. So wherever we were prepared and wherever we did have everything in place, a lot of people gained compensation during the retrograde. Yes, the retrograde is not always bad. It's not always scary. Sometimes the retrograde is like where you left your keys, where you left something important to continue on a mission. And so a person, however, somebody that can get you further along, the retrograde will reconnect you and bring people back into your space just for that. Somebody you hadn't talked to, opportunity that was months ago, it'll come back up during the retrograde. So I always say it's not always bad if you're aligned, if you make good grades, if you do the shadow work, you're going to get the snack, you're going to get the gift. You're not going to be one of the kids in line, about to be in trouble. You don't have silent lunch when you do what you're supposed to do during the retrograde. And so you may have seen a lot of Geminis more quiet than they normally are. because like I said, their ruling sign, their ruling planet, and what tells them how to move was on a pause. And so they had to do a lot of work themselves. Me being a sun sign Gemini, I definitely felt it, but I'm ready, and I'm ready to do what I'm supposed to do now. I took a lot of time to myself so that I can really go back over a lot of things I used to do, a lot of my old work, a lot of things that I used to go back through as far as how I did my readings, information that I had from years ago. This retrograde was very important for me, and I pulled up a lot of different things, books that I was going to write, books that I did write, a lot of different things. And so it's a good thing. You get to reconnect. My sister came in town. I hadn't seen her in a couple of years, especially since COVID. So the retrograde is always working for you, not against you, even though it's uncomfortable sometimes. And however uncomfortable you are is where you're not aligned at, because it shouldn't be uncomfortable. You should always be able to stand back and be like, say no more when it comes to a retrograde or really any transit, regardless of what popular beliefs say and what, a lot of different astrologers may say, hey, this might be an uncomfortable time. But with me, I give you strength where there would normally be a weakness with certain transits. So I always talk you through everything that's going to work out for you. And I always tell you what's going to work against you. So the Jupiter retrograde, okay? So the Jupiter retrograde is going to be in Pisces, and slowly but surely it's going to move back up a little bit to Aquarius, all right? Because Jupiter did go into Aquarius back in 2020. And so now Jupiter being in Pisces, there's a lot of bliss, a lot of compassion, a lot of beautiful things, and a lot of people may be seeing things, in a fantasy type way. And so Pisces has a beautiful way of just adding a whole lot of color to different things, and sometimes a little bit of an illusion. And so sometimes with Pisces, things can be too good to be true. And so you have to be able to really have faith to be able to get to that bag that Jupiter is providing with this transit, okay? You have to be able to really analyze and take your time and be very meticulous about what you're doing in order to get this bag. And so there's a fine line with your spirituality and with the science of it all, when you have to measure but still have faith. And so the faith is inside job, but the measurement and the calculations is an outside job. And you have to be able to do both to be aligned with that Jupiter and Pisces. And so now that it's retrograding, it's going to seem like things that normally just went in your favor. I call it the spiritual credit card, where you would just swipe that thing and things would just go the way you needed to go, and you would just elevate naturally, just without a whole lot of effort and a lot of work. Now there is work, and there is a lot of work, okay? Because anywhere where people typically have distractions, people and things, smoking, drinking, your just imaginary state, and areas where you just escape the world, those things can seem bigger. Those things are going to seem more vivid. Those things are going to be more of a distraction in your space. And so this is why it's a great time to tune into the divine and also deal with the reality of the world, okay? If you deal with the reality, you're not going to be easily taken away from what's happening. There are people and things that are going to be in your space that appear harmless, that appear, like they are innocent, like they wouldn't do anything to hurt you. And it could be the very thing or person that can take you out. And so this is why this alignment is very important. And this is why you have to really be able to see clear in order to get the bag, in order to get the bliss. But you also, like Gemini season taught us, planning. That Gemini season and also that Mercury retrograde taught us how to prepare and to plan and to always be ready. Okay. And so when Jupiter is going backwards, or I would say Jupiter is on vacation, okay, you have to do the work through Pisces without the extra help. And so this is now you standing into your magic. This is now you completely ascending into a spiritual being, so that now when Jupiter goes back direct, oh my goodness, you have really done the work. You really know what your magic looks like. You know what your power looks like. You can really, really just continue to move forward. And Jupiter and Pisces is going to sift through people. All right. It's going to sift through situations that are taken away from you. Wherever you are uncomfortable around people and things that you're doing, even if it's something that normally makes you feel good every day, this Jupiter retrograde is going to teach you how to change your routine and change what you need to do. This Jupiter retrograde is going to put a lot of focus on our health as well. So that's why I say the distractions, even if it's simply just snacks and things that we do that you don't think it's going to hurt you later, and it will. It will. And so our body is a temple and our spirit is within that temple, and you want to give God the best of the best. And so as we're giving God the best of the best, you want to make sure that you're putting all these good things, beautiful things into your space, your mind, the things that you watch, the things that you read, the things that you eat, and how you exert your energy. So exercise is really good. You definitely want to build onto your serotonin. You definitely want to make sure that you're very open at your sacral chakra. And we're building into this full moon in Capricorn, which that's going to be a separate video, but this has a lot to do with it. And so you want to think about that. Areas where things may seem to be going backwards, this full moon could seem, like a complete, just the most uncomfortable thing ever for a lot of people, depending on where your Pisces is and what that's going to do for you. Pisces and Capricorn are only 60 degrees away from each other, so they don't argue. They get along kind of good. They get along kind of okay, even on the negative sense. So they will instigate each other and they will give each other room to do what they need to do. And so you have to think about your Jupiter and where your Saturn is, and where that's retrograding as well, because your Saturn and your Jupiter, okay, they're having a relationship. Your Jupiter is in Pisces, your Saturn is in Aquarius, and that's not always the best, that's not always the best degree status between them. Okay, and so your growth and your bliss, your success and unfinished business, also where there might be shadows of things that you need to work on. Okay, so if you have any issues with the police, any issues with law enforcement, any issues with the government, those things can also come back to bite you. Okay, anywhere where you have to travel far, those are things that could also be interrupted. So you want to think about different things about your travels. You want to think about your long term. You want to think about your relationships. You want to think about the future. And if you and your spouse, your mate, somebody that you're dating, or however, if you're going in the same direction. Because if not, this Jupiter retrograde is going to reveal that. It's going to reveal that you're not going anywhere. It's going to reveal that you're just out of gas in a situation with a person. And so you want to pay attention to that. And these things will happen naturally. You don't have to be suspicious of anybody or anything like that. Who's supposed to be in your space, the retrograde is going to show it. Okay.